In management matters, the best places to work in the federal government. For the first time in years, things are looking up. After 4 straight reports pointing to declining employee satisfaction, there's a slight increase for 2015. Joining me with the latest is Sean Morris, Federal Human Capital Leader at Deloitte. All right, Sean, let's start there. On a 100-point scale, federal employee satisfaction hit 58.1. That's a 1.2% increase from 2014. Good news, but in most classrooms, 58% is an F. Put the overall score into context for us.
Well, I think the best way to put it in context, Morris, is to compare and contrast it against what we see in the private sector. The private sector average score is around 76 points, and so there is some distance between the federal score and the private score. But I think the most meaningful fact to remember here is not only did the numbers rise this year, they rose for the first time in 4 years, and they rose to above where we saw them in 2013.
Now, no big surprises at the top. NASA finished first among large federal agencies, and FDIC led the mid-size category. That said, which agencies made substantial gains in 2015?
The one that you'll hear the most about, and I think it's seen substantial gains for the last 2 years, is the Department of Labor. They've put a very concentrated effort, starting at the very top of their organization, into listening to their employees and showing their employees movement forward on what they're hearing. The first thing they did was try to increase the percentage of the individuals that were actually taking the survey that's released by OPM. And that's up over 70% now. Originally it was under 40%, I believe. And you've seen a great uptick for them over the last 2 years.
Meanwhile, morale at the Secret Service dropped to a new low. Your report puts them 319th out of 320 agencies. The answer may be obvious, but what happened?
Well, challenging situation. I think every organization faces both internal and external situations. Obviously, over the last couple of years, they've had a number of different directors in place, and many people know already some of the challenges that they've faced with security at the White House. At the end of the day, I happen to know they and the Department of Homeland Security, where they sit, are making significant investments at the very highest levels to address this. Taking a step back and looking at the organization that they sit in, while the Department of Homeland Security continued to be on the lower end of the rankings this year, they did actually improve in 8 of their 15 subcomponents, which I think is a very positive indicator for the future of that department.
Sean, before you go, I'd like to address one additional finding. Members of the Senior Executive Service, or SES, posted a job satisfaction score of nearly 83 points. That's leaps and bounds ahead of the rank and file. I can't help but think pay has something to do with it. What else contributes to that score?
Well, at the end of the day, if your senior executives are not happy in their job, that's not a good situation. So I actually think it's a very positive situation that their scores are that high. I actually think it tells a story quite the opposite, that pay is not the issue, that they are staying in their roles. There's been significant pay compression in the senior executive service ranks, and certainly many of them could be paid more in other occupations outside of the federal government. And so I actually believe it's an indication that pay is not the major driver for them.
It's good to get all these statistics from you. Sean Morris with Deloitte. Thanks.
Thank you.